Welcome to Exploring Monterey. Monterey Bay, it is an expanded Exploring Santa Cruz program airing bi-weekly on KSQD 90.7, 89.7, and 89.5 FM. I'm your host, Matilda Rand, and my guest is Regina Gage. Regina Gage has been the executive director of Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley for 9 years. Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley is a nonprofit organization that has been serving homebound seniors in the Salinas Valley for over 52 years, and it covers all South and North County and Salinas. Welcome, Regina.
Thank you, Matilda, and thank you, KSQD, for giving us this opportunity to talk about our agency, Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley.
Well, let's start with you telling us how you came to work for the Meals on Wheels program.
All right. Well, it seems like a long time ago. It makes me realize that suddenly I'm 9 years older. How did that happen? So I actually was working as the executive director for the Monterey County Bar Association, and this opportunity came up. I actually had decided that I needed a little break. I had never really taken much time off, so I thought, I'll become a lady who lunches. That lasted about 2 weeks. So the rest is history, as they say. So it's been my distinct privilege to serve as the executive director for Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley.
I understand that there are actually 2 separate Meals on Wheels organizations in Monterey County. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. So we are a private nonprofit organization, Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley. Monterey County has about 500,000 people. So it's not a really populated county, but it's a large geographic area. So there's another organization, Meals on Wheels of the Monterey Peninsula. So they serve all of the peninsula, whereas we serve all of the Salinas Valley. About 1,700 square miles is our service range.
And how many people are in your area?
We're serving about 225 homebound seniors a week in our home delivered meal program, which is really our core program. Mm-hmm. We've enhanced that program in the past few years, just trying to fill the needs that we see in the senior community. But we go as far as San Ardo, Bradley, Holon, Gonzales, Greenfield, places in North County like beautiful Prunedale, Las Lomas, Castroville, Aromas. So we have a very large geographic territory that we cover.
And so you said homebound seniors.
Correct.
How does that work?
So our main program, and what we're mainly funded for, is that of serving homebound seniors, people who are 60 years and older who can no longer shop or cook for themselves for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it might be short term. Maybe you just got out of the hospital, you had an operation, maybe you don't have a lot of friends or family in town, and you just need meals for a few weeks or a couple of months to get you through that period. Sometimes people come onto our program and they're on our program for years. Mm-hmm. So it's really for people who, again, for a variety of reasons, are unable to shop or cook for themselves. Right. It's not that you're 60 years old and you're just too busy to cook. You wouldn't qualify for our program then.
Right. Is there a selection process or?
There is criteria. So we receive funding from the Older Americans Act through the California Department of Aging, CDA, which then funnels the funding out to the 58 counties in California. So we do receive a substantial amount of federal, state funding, and because of that, we have certain eligibility criteria. Again, you have to be at least 60 years of age, homebound. There's about 4 pages of questions that we ask in our intake process. So if anyone is interested or you think you may have a friend or a neighbor who is eligible or who could use our service, please take a look at our website, but then be prepared when they call in, we would be able to do an intake over the phone.
If I know someone, do I then have to give the phone to the person?
Yes, whenever possible, Matilda, we like to have the clients, the potential clients, because we've had situations where well-meaning family members have tried to sign their mother up, and their mother, who might certainly need our service, but because maybe to her it represents a loss of some form of independence, they may not be so happy when we show up. So we want to talk to the client directly to make sure they understand the service that we'll be providing.
And so the conversations are first over the phone?
First over the phone. They call in, we make sure they're eligible, we do an intake, and oftentimes we can sign someone up that day to start delivering meals within that week so that they don't have to worry about not having home-delivered meals coming to them.
And it's an immediate result, so it's success?
It's pretty immediate, considering a red tape that a lot of people have to go through to receive other types of benefits. We do everything we can to make it happen, if not the next day, then oftentimes within a couple days to deliver, because we deliver Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We have an amazing staff. We're a relatively small agency, but we also have about 100 active volunteers. And without our volunteers, we simply would not be able to cover the area and serve as many clients as we have.
Who delivers the meals?
Oh, our volunteers, our staff delivers the meals. So we deliver Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So everyone comes to our office about 9:15 in the morning. So if any of your listeners have a desire to help out Meals on Wheels, we always need volunteers in our Salinas Valley office. So our volunteers come to the office on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays. They pick up their meals, they get their delivery route sheets, and usually they have about 6 to 9 clients that they'll deliver to that morning.
When they deliver the meals, is there any contact?
There is. So we think of ourselves as more than a meal. Obviously, folks cannot live without nutritious meals on a regular basis.
Right.
But besides the meals, oftentimes our clients who are, somewhat isolated and alone, they may not have, as I said earlier, friends or family, our volunteer may be the only person that they have contact with all week. So we provide a wellness check. Because again, if you're delivering to somebody week after week, this can go on for years, you start to notice when something is amiss in a client. And unfortunately, on more than one occasion, we've had to contact APS, which would be Adult Protective Services.
Right.
Yep.
The clients meet the same person every time?
We try to do that, but because we have such a dynamic organization, clients come on. As I said, they may come on for a couple weeks, a couple months. Some clients have been on our program for years. Maybe the volunteer moves or the client, they may relocate. So we do everything we can, and our clients get very attached to our volunteers and vice versa, but we also let them know that this is a dynamic situation and sometimes you may have a different client on your route.
Like we say in eating, different of spice makes you more hungry, right?
Yes.
More hungry for the next connection.
Yes.
6 to 9 people I would deliver if I was a driver.
Yes.
And I may or may not get the same clients, but I do establish communication, and that's okay. But I assume it depends on what the client wants.
Exactly. Good point. Our volunteers are all really wonderful. And sometimes they might want to be very conversational and talkative to the client. And sometimes our clients are simply not in the mood. So we let our volunteers know, don't take it personally. And the client has a right to say, no, I don't want you to come into my home. I just want you to leave the meals.
So does it mean you give the volunteers some training?
We do, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. We wouldn't just throw you out. There you go. There's your delivery route. Have a good time. Yeah, we give them some guidance and let them know.
What kind of guidance? Give me some examples.
Well, they usually sign up online, and then we call them. We let them know what the delivery schedule is. We find out what their availability is, and then we bring them in for an orientation, which lasts a couple hours. And then throughout the year, we usually have a quarterly in-service training for all of our volunteers where we're just updating them on a variety of topics so they understand what Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley is doing, how things are changing, and it also gives them an opportunity to ask questions or clarify procedures or processes.
And then they have an opportunity to talk to the other drivers?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And exchange things?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And plus, they all see each other when they come into our warehouse on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday morning.
Right.
So they develop their own rapport with each other.
What I wanted to know was, because I'm very interested in what you're doing, because I do free taxes for people.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And sometimes I need to make a home visit.
Right.
And so I just did yesterday. I picked it up from her home and then asked her all the information, take it to my house, do the taxes, and bring it back. And you can see that at the end of the whole process, there's really a way of, you feel it, how grateful this person is. And she doesn't have to give me anything. A smile is enough. A thank you, or just, oh, really? I didn't know that. Things like that. Starting to ask questions. What if I do this, and what if would that make a difference? And then sometimes it does make a big difference.
Right.
They could have another write-off or something like that. So I'm wondering, with the conversations the drivers have with the clients and the clients with the drivers, what develops there?
Well, obviously a rapport develops there and friendships develop, and sometimes the client is unsure where to go, of the resources that they may need, but they're unaware of. So the county puts together, it's a senior guide in Monterey County, it's in English and Spanish, so we make sure that the client receives that so they're aware of different resources. So we try to address as much as we can, knowing that at the end of the day, our main core focus is serving seniors. So yeah, it's really important, the client and the volunteer relationship. And as I said, we have volunteers who've been there for 20 and 30 years, and they're showing up every week, rain or shine, even during the dark days of the pandemic. We were completely operational, boots on the ground. It's hard to deliver meals from your living room.
That's true.
Yes, yes.
Or via Zoom.
Exactly, yes.
Well, that's amazing. 20 to 30 years.
Yep. One of our board members has been a volunteer for 30 years, and we have a wonderful volunteer. She just had a big birthday. I won't name her name, although she'd probably want me to, but she's a great volunteer. She just turned 80, and she has been delivering meals for over 20 years.
It's interesting that you say she's over 80. A couple of years ago, I had a person who lives nearby who told me that she was doing Meals on Wheels in Santa Cruz County. Since I do a program called First Person Singular, which is a 2-minute program where people share any kind of experience they have, and she insisted she wanted to do Meals on Wheels. And it was so interesting what she was describing. And she indeed was over 80. So she was helping people over 60 or homebound, but she was still driving.
Oh, absolutely.
And she was delivering meals.
Yep.
And the stories that she was telling me were very fascinating.
I think the reason our volunteers stay so long is because they see the direct impact that our program has. I mean, in Monterey County, there's probably well over 1,000 nonprofits, and they all have their own value and worth in their own way. But obviously, we think and we believe that when you're bringing food to someone, that has a huge impact on them, and you're providing a wellness check. So I think that's one of the main reasons our volunteers continue to stay with us, and we're very happy about that.
Yes, of course. I think you mentioned that already, that if they understand there might be not a need, or if the client asks for something or mentions something, they have the little booklet and then give the people information on how to get what they need.
Exactly. And every time a client signs up, we always make sure that we ask them for an emergency contact.
Right.
Just in case something happens where if we go up to the client's door and they're always there on Tuesdays and then suddenly they're not there, that raises a question in our minds or our volunteers' minds. So we don't just walk away. We see it through to make sure, like, oh, maybe they forgot or they were in the back room, they didn't hear us, but just to make sure that everything is okay with them.
Well, let me remind people that they are listening to Exploring Monterey Bay on KSQD. My name is Matilda Rand, and my guest is Regina Gage of Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley. And we just discussed a little bit on how she got there, but a lot of it, what we talked about was the connection between clients of Meals on Wheels of Salinas Valley and the drivers who bring the meals to people's homes, which is a lot more than just bringing meals. It's making connections and sometimes helping with referrals to, it might be something legal, they have a legal question, where do I go? Or maybe medical questions that not the medical questions itself, but where do I go if I have this? Whatever question they have. It's amazing what people are asking.
Yes, it is. We truly believe in collaborations at Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley, and we think that's really important, especially between other community-based organizations.
Yeah. Well, talking about that, do you collaborate with any agencies for referrals?
Social workers refer to us, doctors' offices refer to us. Many people know about Meals on Wheels. We do an incredible amount of outreach in both English and Spanish because in the Salinas Valley, you're serving a very high Spanish-speaking population, and we want to make sure that they understand the services that we provide. So we do collaborate with different organizations. And we, as I said, we're very proud of some of the unique collaborations that we've started in the past few years. So hopefully we'll have a moment to talk about those.
Well, exactly. That's what I want to hear from you.
Well, there you go. So we have been working with our friends at the Food Bank for Monterey County for years. We provide what we call ATIs, additional tasty items. So basically, that's fresh fruits and vegetables that we pick up every week and bring to our clients along with the main meals that they receive. So it's been a wonderful benefit for our clients. The Food Bank is a great collaborator. We also work with the SPCA for Monterey County. We have a program called Animeals/Pet Meals. They provide the funding and we do all the management of the meals. So if you're a client and you have a cat, a dog, or a bird, we'll be more than happy to bring you some pet food for your beloved animals. So that is a long time collaboration, probably 25 years we've been working with the SPCA. We also work with Monterey Weekly. Several years ago, I reached out to them where we provide a complimentary copy of a newspaper, Monterey Weekly and Foolish Times, just so that our clients can feel a little more connected to their community, even though they may not be able to go out as much as they would like to. We still want them to feel connected.
Monterey Weekly.
Yes.
So at least they'll stay up to date of what's going on.
Exactly. yes. And the Monterey Weekly has been very generous, and they drop off the papers every week, and then we make sure we put them in the bag of ATIs, additional tasty items, for our clients. And then the volunteers take that bag and the Monterey County Weekly and deliver it to our clients. We also started working with the Monterey County Free Libraries a few years ago, again, to make it possible for our clients who can't always get out so that they could have books or books on tape or large print books that they can order. It's all done on a complimentary basis. They don't have to pay anything, and they'll sign up and they can get the books that they want basically mailed directly to their homes.
Mailed to their homes?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We talked about public participation, obviously drivers, but there's other public participation.
Did you want me to speak about the programs we created in South County, the socials? Because that's a lot of collaboration.
Yeah, well, let me ask about what requirements or what kind of preliminary questions do you have? Because you want to be protective of your clients.
Of course, of course.
And you want to protect your drivers for not being overwhelmed by clients who have a lot of needs.
Exactly.
So what kind of interaction do you have with the volunteers?
Well, we see our volunteers almost every day that they come there. Obviously, as a nonprofit, we always need volunteers, and the main area that we need volunteers in is driving. We deliver Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, so you have to have your own vehicle, you have to have a driver's license, you have to be insured, you have to have a clean driving record, we do some background checking. So we always need volunteer drivers, and of course, funding is always an issue. As I said, there's a lot of worthy nonprofits, and we all are aware of the state of California. But yeah, there are different ways to get involved.
If people are interested, should they go to your website?
Yes, you can go to our website and look at all of our wonderful programs, check out our Facebook page, but you can get started if you want to be a volunteer. But again, you have to be available Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So if you're working full-time, unless your employer is very generous, it's probably going to be challenging for you to come to our office every Tuesday for an hour, hour and a half to deliver your meals.
And so the website is MOW Salinas, so Meals on Wheels, Salinas.org.
That's us.
Good. And there is a phone number.
Yes.
831-758-6325.
Yes. And we
Excellent.
always have someone answering the phone during our regular business hours. Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4:30, and Fridays by appointment only. We deliver Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Monday, we all hide out in the office to get some work done.
And if they want to contact you personally by email, it is Regina G at mowsalinas.org. And Regina is spelled Regina.
Yep,
And
that's
then
me.
a G for Gage.
Yes.
We were talking about your socials. Tell us.
Yes. So after the pandemic, which obviously was a very dark time in this country's history, and we had realized this prior, there was a real need for people who were not homebound to be able to come together because every community does not have a senior center. So we created this program, and again, we like acronyms. We like to make things up at Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley. We started this program in Soledad, which is in South County. So we called it SOCOS, South County Senior Social. So for any English majors out there, editors, please don't get too mad at us. We took a little bit of liberty with the with the initials. So this is a monthly program that we started in Soledad where we invited seniors over 60 who were mobile, if you're on your walker or your cane, or you can get a ride there, to come to an event. It's 2 hours, and we had a musician play. We had complimentary lunches that we purchased from local restaurants because we believe it's important to support local businesses. We also invited a lot of other community-based organizations like the Blue Zones, Red Cross, Alliance on Aging, Legal Services for Seniors, Alzheimer's Association, a myriad of agencies that provide benefits and services to seniors, because a lot of folks in South County, they are not always given the opportunity. They don't always have the means or the ways to come to Salinas. So we wanted to bring this information to them. So we started this program in 2021. We're now doing 6 of these a month, in addition to serving 225 homebound seniors a week.
So you have the SOCOS and you have the NOCOS.
NOCOS, of course, is North County Senior Social. That's the one that we hold in Castroville. And then our newest one is SASO, Salinas Senior Social. And that alternates from 2 different locations. But now we do them every month. We do them on the same day every month, so the date may change. So people can get comfortable and used to these monthly socials. And now I think total is about over 400 people a month we're serving at these monthly events.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so we're very happy about that.
Did you have other special programs during the pandemic?
We did. Before the pandemic, we created a program called Art and About. And we did that in collaboration with the Arts Council for Monterey County because, again, we believe in the power of collaboration. And many of our homebound seniors are unable to leave their home. So we wanted to bring something artistic to them. And we didn't want to give them a coloring book and crayons. We wanted it to be a little more elevated. So we put our heads together. We came up with this program. We gave it a name, of course, Art and About. So once a month, we have a musician, a local musician who's paid. They come to our office and they go out with one of our volunteers on a delivery route, and they essentially provide a sidewalk serenade to our clients. Yeah. So we're very happy about that. We put that on hold, of course, during the pandemic.
Right.
Towards the end, we were still going out, but instead of the musician going into the home, they stood back on the sidewalk to honor that 6 feet social distancing that we had never really heard of before, and then suddenly we were all too familiar with it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
So that's a program we created.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that was before the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, suddenly when the governor put the shelter-in-place order, everyone was homebound. So we were completely overwhelmed with phone calls. We're not staffed for that. We're not funded for that. So we had some of our members from the agricultural community step up. They made some very generous donations, and they wanted us to specifically use it for COVID. So we had to create a program. Even my husband Stuart helped, my colleague Lori Bend, all of us put our heads together. We created this program called MASA. If Lori was here, she would go crazy because I have to tell you the acronym, Matilda. It stands for Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley and our Salinas Valley Community Partners in Action. MASA. It's the longest acronym you've probably ever heard. But what we did is we worked with local transportation companies, MST and ITN, because suddenly no one was taking buses, no one was needing rides. They needed to keep their folks employed. Reached out to local restaurants. They were dying because they didn't have any business, and we basically signed these people up. We deviated from our normal process because this was not a normal time. We started with about 15 people where we were serving them Monday through Friday a hot, fresh meal from a local restaurant. And then we had the great idea that we should probably issue a press release to let people know. Within about 2 weeks, we were serving an extra 250 people a day, Monday through Friday. Yes, but I think it is a great example of what can happen when you have private funding, quasi-governmental organizations, local businesses, and of course a nonprofit coming together to make things happen.
Talking about money, I just read in the paper a letter to the editor from the local Meals on Wheels program. And they mentioned that the governor's proposal of cutting $111 million over the next 3 years from the California's Modernizing Older Californians Act, which is the MOCA. So,
another acronym.
Right. And so, which would then push thousands of older adults toward hunger and despair. Now, I understand from you, you are not as much dependent on MOCA.
That is correct. We do receive a substantial amount of funding, and money is always an issue, whether you're a nonprofit or a not-for-profit. As I said earlier, we ask our clients for a voluntary donation, but we also know that many of them are living at about $1,000 or less. If you can even imagine, in Monterey County, that's considered the federal poverty level.
Right.
Anyway, so my heart goes out to the folks in Santa Cruz. We are in a strong position at Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley, but we're constantly vigilant, looking for grants, looking for funding, creating new programs to stay viable and to continue growing and showing the benefit of our agency. But we do get some funding, but we're not as heavily dependent on the MOCA funding. So I would like to know more about them. Obviously, they serve a vital need in your county. So I'm hoping they'll be able to figure out another alternative. But you're writing grants, and at the end of the day, we're still a business.
Right.
We have a budget, we have employees, we have overhead, we have rent. And sometimes people, I think, forget that as a nonprofit. We're still a business. And at the end of the day, we better be more in the black than we are in the red.
You're a business, and you have to file a tax return.
Yes, we have to go through an audit every year, which is always a lot of fun. Ours is always clean, I might add. And yes, even though we don't pay taxes, we still have to file that 87-page 990 from our friends at the state of California.
Right, I hear you. We have a few minutes left, and I thought maybe you have some final thoughts.
Thank you for giving Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley an opportunity. We're very grateful to our community in Monterey County, the foundations, the donors, our volunteers, our fabulous, our board of directors. If folks ever want to volunteer, I realize that we're in a different county, but we're not that far away. Please let us know if you have any ideas or suggestions or questions about some of the programs that I just mentioned. We're happy to share. My colleague Lori and I just returned from a conference in Denver where we presented, and a lot of people were really surprised at all the different things we're doing, because we like to think that we have to continue providing more than a meal. Obviously, food is essential, but there's a lot of other things that people need to kind of impact their life on a positive basis.
You're creating community. Community between your drivers and your clients, but also community between the referral agencies and the agricultural.
Yes.
And then the restaurants.
Yes.
And I think you're also working together with CHOMP, the medical
Actually,
facility?
I served on the Salinas Valley Healthcare Board, and they all came together to help fund the Blue Zones project. Yes, which is obviously a very important...
Which is the Blue Zone? Tell us.
Well, I believe, I forget the gentleman's name, from National Geographic. He identified, I think, 9 different areas in the world where people were not only living longer, but they were living longer and better. So he did some extensive research trying to find out, like, what are these magic factors? And I think there's 9 of them. I don't have them memorized. I probably should. But first of all, eating. You have to think of food as medicine. Plant-based, most of the time, is the way to go. But it's also important to have a reason to get up in the morning. It's also important to have social connections. Reach out to people when you're feeling blue or you have some troubles or difficulty. Unwind, have a glass of wine with your friends. It's a really interesting theory, and I encourage everyone to just Google Blue Zones, and you'll get lots of information, and you might well be on your way to living to be 100 and living very well. All of us, right, in this room.
And then we may need Meals on Wheels.
Well, hopefully you won't need Meals on Wheels if you follow the Blue Zones.
So is that a way to get fewer clients, is by pushing people into the Blue Zones?
No. Hey, no.
Just kidding.
Yeah, we have never had a waiting list. For our meal program. Yes, and many places across the country have waiting lists, which is really unfortunate. But we do everything we can to make sure we can serve every homebound senior who needs our service.
Well, you served up a great conversational plate here. I want to thank you, and I want to remind people that they've been listening to Exploring Monterey Bay with Regina Gage of Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley. If you want to contact Meals on Wheels, 758-6325 in the 831 area code, or mowsalinas.org. And Regina can be reached by email reginag@mowsalinas.org. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.